because if you want results, you got to take action to get them. So there's a great metaphor of the lion and the gazelle, right? So the lion is apex predator, right? It's just the king of the food chain. It can eat anything it wants and basically doesn't have anything that hunts it. And then there's the gazelle, it's like the bottom of the food chain. It is hunted by other animals, right? And the fascinating thing about humans is that we are both apex predator and prey animal, right? So our ancestors were preyed on by, 8-foot eagles that could take an adult out of the sky, and saber-toothed tigers that had huge teeth, especially designed just to like pierce your skull, right? So we're prey animals, which is why we have so much anxiety and fear in our lives, because that's what kept our ancestors alive, being extremely vigilant. But we're also apex predators. Like, we can kill anything we want with our technology, with our minds, with the tools that we can create, right? We can hunt, and we don't just hunt animals now, we hunt goals, right? We set goals and dreams and things we want to do in our lives, and we go after those, and we hunt those things. And so at every point in our life, we have this conflict between, being driven by the fear, that prey instinct, versus being driven by the lion instinct, the predator instinct, to do something meaningful, to go after a goal, to hunt something important to us, right? To go off and search. And that's the hero's journey, right? Is the same thing. It's someone has a goal and they go hunting after, they go seeking after it to find what they're looking for. And so really the difference between the lion and gazelle is that the lion is driven by a goal and the gazelle is driven by fear, right? And most people live like gazelles. Most people live to be safe. They don't want to, they're afraid of what other people think about them, we have faux fear of other people's opinions, right? Most of us live most of our lives making most of our decisions based on what other people are going to think or say about us, instead of by the goals and the meaningful things we really want to do with our lives, right? And so we hold ourselves back living in fear rather than being driven by a meaningful goal. So we should live more like lions, right? Live more goal-driven, meaningful lives rather than being driven by fear and what other people are going to think of us. Dr. John Demartini said, when the voice and the vision inside is more powerful than any voices outside, you've mastered your life. When the voice and the vision inside is more powerful than any voices outside, you've mastered your life. And that's what it means to be a lion, right? It's to look at the circumstance outside you, what other people say, financial problems, whatever obstacles, setbacks, challenges, disappointments you're facing in your life, and to be able to look beyond that and still see your goal, to still see your vision, to still see what matters to you, and to focus on that rather than being afraid, rather than simply being afraid. Like, we're all going to have fear, but you have to learn to overcome it and go after your goal and take action. And life is basically just a giant experiment, right? Like, humans are scientists. Like, we're all scientists. We try new things and see what works. And that's what babies do. They put little blocks in their mouth and they feel them around and stick it in their tongue, and they stick things in their ears, and they're just constantly experimenting. And that's how we learn. And that's what you have to do every day, is try something new, see what you learn. And every failure, every setback, every disappointment is simply a step towards success. It's a step where you learn, you get feedback from the environment, you get feedback from the world to learn what works and what doesn't work, so you can make a different decision, take different actions. So when you're stuck in life, when you're confused, and you don't know what to do, just take an action, take a step toward your goal, right? A lot of things in life, we don't take action because we don't believe we can, right? We don't believe we're good enough, we're not strong enough, we're not smart enough to figure it out. But the truth is, you can do anything you set your mind to, right? There's no such thing as a special human being with a special gift that's set up far apart from you. All right, we're all special. We all have gifts. Anyone can be a professional athlete or a world-class editor or marketer or anything you want to be, or astronaut, right? If you're willing to do the work, put the action in, take those actions, take those steps, you can achieve anything you want to achieve in your life. But you have to keep trying, right? Thomas Edison tried 10,000 times to invent a light bulb and failed, and eventually found the one way that worked. And he kept going, right? So every day you should treat like an experiment, right? And realize that when you take action, two things happen. One is you realize the thing you were so afraid of doing and trying is not nearly as scary as you thought it would be, right? Once you take action, the fear just disappears. You know, Will Smith tells this great story of, you know, going skydiving, and, you know, the whole time before skydiving, he's freaking out and he's anxious and he can't sleep at night and he's really scared, and, you know, he's up in the plane and like there's this green light and it's like red and then it's yellow and he knows it's going to turn green soon, he's going to have to jump, and then it's green and then he has to jump. And that's the point of most fears, when he has to jump, right? And then as soon as he jumps, he's flying and it's just bliss, right? The fear is gone, it disappears when you take action. And a lot of times in life, you just have to jump, right? Someone said yesterday at the author meeting, it's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid. You just got to do it, you know, to get it over with. And when you do, life is a whole lot better, right? You don't have to stay stuck in your fear. Action is the antidote to fear. The other cool thing that happens when you act is you enjoy it. You get joy, you get results, you get happiness, and you're creating a dopamine pathway in your brain every time you do something. So every time you do something scary or new or different, you're getting rewarded for that. Your brain rewards you for it, right? And that's how you can learn to love any activity, right? Some people love to play spike ball, and some people love to play other sports, and some people like to collect stamps, and, you know, anything you do, you can learn to enjoy by doing it enough, right? So something right now that you think, you know, oh, I could never do that, you actually could, right? You could learn not just to do it, but to do it really well and to love it if you put the time and effort into it. So I'm working with a strength and conditioning coach now, and he talks about the 2.5% rule for weightlifting, which is basically every week you up your weights by 2.5%, right? And the idea is that every week you're taking a little bit more action, you're stretching yourself a little bit more, you're just going a little bit outside your comfort zone, right? And every week you should be doing something, every day you should be doing something new, something different, something a little bit more challenging than what you could do yesterday, right? Do something every day that scares you a little bit, right? That stretches you outside your comfort zone. That's how you grow, that's how you learn, that's how you get better. And there's this other great thing in his strength training program. He talks about RPE, which is your perceived rate of exertion. And so it's like a number from 0 to 10. So 0 is like you're not even trying. 10 is like you're pushing so hard that when you're done lifting weights, you literally, like, the weight just falls on you because you literally can't move your muscles anymore, right? And so what you want to do is you want to train at an 8. Every day train at an 8. And then when you're doing a competition, you go for 10. You go all out, right? And the reason you go for an 8 is because an 8 is pushing yourself, right? Most people live most of their lives like a 3 or a 4. They want to stay comfortable. They're kind of trying, but they don't want to push it too hard, right? But an 8, you're really pushing it. But you've got like 1 or 2 sets you can still do left, right? So you're leaving a little bit of fuel in the tank, because you know if you go for a 10 every day, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get an injury, right? But if you go for an 8, you're pushing yourself, but you can still do more, right? You can still do more that day, but you choose to leave a little bit in the tank so you can rest. So the next day you can do an 8 again, and the next day you can do an 8 again, and an 8 again, and an 8 again. And by doing that, by pushing yourself but not too far, right? It's like finding that balance between order and chaos. You find that perfect space where you're trying really hard, but you're not hurting yourself. And then what happens is you get stronger, right? And next week your 8 is like what your 9 was last week, all right? So you're still pushing yourself to an 8, but you're getting better and stronger every single week. And that's how you grow, that's how you get better. But even if you're terrible at something right now in your life, you could be the worst in the world at it. If every week you work at it at an 8, right, and you take action, you move towards that goal, you will get stronger, you will grow, and you will get better. The other fascinating thing about actions and your thoughts and your emotions and your experience as a human being is that your actions change your DNA. So we have our genome, which is like the genes that we have. Those don't change throughout your life unless like they're mutations, but those basically stay the same your whole life, right? But there's your epigenome, which are these methyl blocks outside your genes that trigger your genes on and off and modulate them. So it's kind of like the dimmer switch on a light bulb. They can turn the gene off, they can turn the gene on, or they can turn the gene up a little bit or down a little bit, right? And what happens when you take action, your genes change, right? So when you work out or exercise, your genes change. The epigenetic switches change, right? It turns on good genes that protect you and give you better health, and turns off bad genes that give you cancer and heart disease and all these bad things. The actions you take change your cells at the cellular level. What's fascinating about it too is that you pass those traits down to your children, to future generations. So the actions you take will affect your children and their children and their children for many, many generations to come, right? So the actions we take, they don't just affect us. You got to remember that. Like every action you take affects all your future generations, but also affects the people in your life, right? There are ripple effects for everything we do. And so if there's something in your life you think is worth doing, you think you should do, take action, right? Take that step because it will make a positive impact.